Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me? All right, perfect. Thank you so much for coming out today. Chief Dill told me, and when I told him I had to do something, the department had to do something to make sure that he was properly sent off. And we said we were going to do it the best we could. He said, "Don't worry, nobody's going to show up." So thank you. It's a true testament to the fire chief and everything he's done for the fire department in the town of Kearny. So thank you, and let's have a hand for Chief Dill. 35 years, 9 months is a long time. So before they're going out on a call right now, but on behalf of the chief officers of the Kearny Fire Department, both active and retired, and the active and retired members of the fire department, thank you for coming. I appreciate you taking the time as we adjust to somewhat of our new normal of social distancing and mask wearing and gloves. So just continue to practice those, and we can continue to keep our cases down. I want to take a second to recognize some of the distinguished guests that we have were able to be with us here today. That includes members of Chief Dill's family. So thank you all for coming. We have with us here the mayor of the town of Kearny, Al Santos. Members of the council, we have Council President Carol Jean Doyle. Our fire committee chair, Eileen Eckel. Also on the fire committee, Sue McCurry. Councilman Cardoso is not able to be with us here today, but he sends his best to the chief, and I know I'm sure he reached out to you already. Councilman Kanapka, Second Ward, I'm not sure if I saw him, if he's here yet. Councilman Peter Santana. We have Councilwoman Mary Trine DeCastro. And Councilman Facito is coming if he's not here already, but he'll be here today also. I also want to acknowledge we have with us retired Chief of the Department, Bart Bevins. Where's Chief Bevins? He's right here. Chief, thanks for coming. We have Hudson County's OEM coordinator, Jimmy Woods. We have the Kearny EMS Chief, Harry McNeil's here. We have the Kearny Local 18 Union President Mike McCurry and Local 218 President Andrew O'Donnell. I'm not sure. We also have with us the Kearny firefighter, United States Marine, Mark Isabella. Where's Mark? Mark just returned from his tour of duty, so welcome home safely, Mark. All right, we have, from Hudson County, we have Chief Montaigne from North Hudson Regional. Secaucus, we have Chief Leppin and Chief Schoendorf. All right, Chief Daly's here from Jersey City Fire, representing the Jersey City Fire Department. Chief McGill's here. I'm sorry, Chief, I didn't see you. Chief McGill's Chief of the Department in Jersey City. We also have with us from Antonio Gary's the Chief of the Irvington Fire Department. All right, we have representing Belleville Fire, Chief Buckley. I'm trying to go in county order here. Passaic County, we have Chief Prezioso. From Clifton, thanks, Chief. Chief Mullen from Livingston. We have Chief Lou Pepe. Chief Pepe is the Morris County Fire Coordinator. He's also the director of the Morris County Fire Academy. That's where we send our recruits every year. We just had Chief Pepe. Chief Pepe is very instrumental in working with Chief Dill and the Kearny Fire Department and making sure that we have an excellent recruit program for our recruits. And they just started yesterday, so they're not here, which is a good thing. So they're out getting their training. So thanks, Chief Pepe. We have from Burlington County, Chief Colucci from Mount Laurel. Chief Colucci is also the president of the New Jersey Career Fire Chiefs Association. We have Chief Weiss from the Atlantic City Airport. We have President Charles Lynn from the New Jersey Deputy and Battalion Fire Chiefs Association. And we have many members of that association here with us, retired battalion and deputy chiefs. If I keep going with names, we'll be here all day. But thank you all for taking the time to be here to acknowledge Chief Dill. And also from Trenton, the Division of Fire Safety, we have the Director, Rich McCutsky. We have Bruce Tynan, and we have Tim Weiss. Thank you all for coming up. As you can see, this is just a small impact that Chief Dill's had on the fire service, just making sure that the fire service is well represented, as well as the Kearny Fire Department throughout the state of New Jersey, and that's a testament to the Chief, just by everybody's presence here today, so thank you. Councilman Faceto just came. Where's Councilman Faceto? Thank you for coming. All right, at this time, I'm going to bring up Mayor Santos to say a few words.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to lower my mask for a few minutes. It's not easy to do a lot of things in a pandemic. It's not easy to tell people to do things they don't want to do.
Step up to the mic there.
I've got to be careful with the distancing. It's not easy to tell, I'll speak up, I think I will. It's not easy to tell people to do things they don't want to do. That's the era we're living in this pandemic. People have to wear masks. Asymptomatic transmission is occurring. Numbers are down, we're doing well, but it's still occurring. So what you're doing here today is important for all of us in our community. Notwithstanding the pandemic, it's still important to have ceremonies like this. Because even though this is a moment in time, it's an important moment in time. And it reflects a body of work of an individual, a whole department, but an individual in particular. Over 35 years ago, Stephen Dill answered the call to serve his community as a firefighter. And he has served, without any doubt, he has served with honor and distinction. His last 13 years as chief of the department are a testament to his passion for fire safety. And we know it because, Chief, to be honest, you can go on, but that shows your passion for fire safety. His dedication to the men and women that serve in this department, and his commitment to our town. Today we have the opportunity to thank him for decades of work, decades of dedication, and for answering that call over 35 years ago. Chief Dill has brought many significant accomplishments at the helm of the department, and he's overcome very significant challenges. Most notably, under his leadership, the department rebuilt its ranks to a full complement, established a Marine unit, replaced critical pieces of apparatus, ladder trucks, pump ranges, and literally saved a firehouse building. We've tackled significant public safety emergencies, including the current one, countless fires, large-scale special events, and we have a fire department here in Kearny that is a model of a professional, effective, and responsive fire department protection services. I want to focus on some of the challenges because it really is quite impressive on how the fire department overcame those challenges. The Great Recession at the beginning of Chief Dill's tenure resulted in staffing cutbacks. That was followed by an acceleration of retirements when Governor Christie enacted pension change. In just 1 year in this department, there were 15 retirements, including 8 captains, 5 senior firefighters, all within weeks. Over 400 years of experience, all lost within several weeks. We're concerned about the pace of the turnover, how it would affect our experience and our knowledge base, which are critical in public safety. But under the Chief's leadership, The department retained its high level of effectiveness until funding opened up to hire new firefighters, both safer funding and tax dollars in the town of Kearny. He leaves the department, as I said, restored to a full complement, one that has successfully rebuilt the elements of experience and knowledge. The chief's tenure was vividly demonstrated in 2012 during the multiple water rescues following Superstorm Sandy, especially some harrowing ones in South Kearny. Or in 2017 with the reopening of the Davis Avenue Firehouse after a closure of over a year because of structural deficiencies in the building. Repairs that some people doubted would ever happen. We dubbed it the firehouse that could. It was a center. It was a community center. It wasn't just a firehouse. It's a community center for that neighborhood. In 2019, again, the department faced a challenge, the Alden Leeds fire. It was a conflagration that kept reigniting over a couple of weeks, several weeks, 3 weeks. And then this year, the pandemic, and at the peak in April, where emergency responses were needed on a daily, hourly basis. Any of these could have overwhelmed a department, but none of them overwhelmed the Kearny Fire Department. Quite the opposite, the fire department got the job done, notwithstanding those challenges. That record of safety is attributable to the men and women, their dedication of this department, and to its leadership, especially to the fire chief. So by answering that call over 35 years ago, Chief Dill has made our community safer, more secure. And I want to conclude, there's one of my favorite writings that applies to all public service and first response, public safety, is public service of a noble order because you run to danger. But it's the oath that was taken by public servants in ancient Athens, and the Athenian oath of fealty. It begins, we will never bring disgrace to this our city by any act of dishonesty or cowardice, nor ever desert our suffering comrades in the ranks. We will fight for our ideals and sacred things of the city, both alone and with the many. We will revere and obey the city's laws and do our best to incite a like respect in those above us. Those above us who are prone to annul them and set them at naught. We will strive unceasingly to quicken the public sense of civic duty. Thus, in all these ways, we will transmit this city, not only not less, but far greater and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. Today, Chief Dill transmits a department far greater than when he began his tenure. So not only for the next year, not only for the next chief, but for decades of chiefs to come, that will remain true, Chief. Today, Chief, I want to congratulate you on a well-earned retirement. Thank you for demonstrating throughout your career the very best in fire protection professionalism and the very best in public service. Congratulations. In recognition of the Chief's service, the Town Council and I adopted a proclamation, a copy of which will be kept on file in the clerk's office, and a copy of which it is my honor to present to the Chief right now as a small token of our gratitude for his years.
Thank you, Mayor Santos. Now at this time, I'd like to call up the Fire Committee Chair, Councilwoman Eileen Echols.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is a day for celebration. day to celebrate the accomplishments and career of Chief Steve Dill. Firefighter, captain, deputy chief, chief of the department for 13 years. And on every step of the way, Steve found a way to lead and to teach. Working in any profession, we look to each other as mentors. So it is obvious that as he honed his craft, he would learn and in turn teach others. As a teacher, you knew I would put that in there somewhere, right? As a teacher, I value the strategies that other teachers use. And make no mistake, Steve Dill is a teacher. But what could he possibly teach me? Us. From day one, when he became chief of the department, he focused on education. And me, and for all the members of the fire committee, and I must say there were times when I thought to myself, this is not necessary, or this is too much, or why do I need to know this, or this is going to take some time. Just like my students must think of me, especially when I'm particularly focused on something that I think is really important, that I think they need to know, that they really have to understand in order to do better and succeed in life. Critically important to their education, something they'll need in their future. They just don't know it yet. As time went on, we met regularly for 13 years. Due to his diligence and desire for consistency, and at those meetings we discussed the vision, the plan, the focus, the goals that he envisioned for this department. And as we met, I began to value my education more and more. I learned about the differences between engines, pumpers, and ladders. I learned about turnout gear, the need for life-saving ropes, the concept that the fire service is about prevention as a goal. And I learned that in the town surrounded by water, we needed boats. I learned that I needed to know more about it all. Councilwoman McCurry and I even went to the academy and donned all the equipment, got fitted for breathing apparatus, and I went into a live bird. Deputy Chiefs Mastandria Kaufman and Chief Deal went in with me. An experience I will never forget, and a team I would not have ventured into a burning building without. I mention this not because I went in, but because of why I went in. It is because of the trust I felt and continue to feel for the work that is done every day by the Kearny Fire Department, and this is due to leadership. Chief Dill insisted on a pattern of planning and purchasing that would allow the town to budget for equipment in a way that is proactive and not reactive. He focused on the TO in order to provide safe working conditions for the Kearny Fire Department and to provide the best possible service to the residents and business owners of our town. Under his leadership, we have experienced strong educational practices for the entire staff of the department through ongoing training, which provided us with exactly what we needed on so many occasions when lives and livelihoods were at stake. Who can forget the fire that devoured Windsor Street on one of the coldest nights of the year, where the images of firefighters with ice hanging from their bodies, hoses and helmets were everywhere? Or the most recent catastrophe of all the Leeds, where no one in the country had ever handled a situation, but our Kearny Fire Department kept us safe. All of this under the radar, all of this while also doing the day-to-day business of the chief of the department. Understanding the way it works is a far cry from getting it done and getting what you need to make it work. Dealing with the bureaucracy of the town, the county, the state, and the federal government is no walk in the park. And all of that takes skill, patience, and probably some luck. We have been fortunate to have a chief of the department who has been able to manage all of that successfully and keeping us sleeping peacefully while he and his capable and professional department have been keeping a watchful eye on all of us. I admire and appreciate what you have done for our town and for me. To lead by example and to provide a clear path for the future of a department that you have crafted with the best intentions and with a heartfelt desire to leave this place better than you found it. I am proud to have worked with you. Please accept my most sincere thanks for the job well done. As I mentioned in my opening statement, today is a day to celebrate. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Councilwoman Eckler. I just saw come up is Chief Jackson from Newark, and Chief Gale, also Chief of Operations from Newark. Thank you for coming. Unfortunately, Congressman Bill Pascrell was not able to be with us today. Congressman Pascrell represents Kearny in the 9th Congressional District, but he was able to send a congressional record acknowledging Chief Bill's service to the community. It's going to be presented by Deputy Chief Bruce Goffman. We also have with this a flag that was flown over the United States Capitol. All right, that brings us to the man of the hour. It's going to be interesting to see what he's going to have to say. I don't know how many pages he wrote for this event. He told me he was going to try to, not write anything down and just go off, but I'm not sure. So we'll see. Everyone, the Chief of the Kearny Fire Department, Steve Dept.
All that education you talk about, I don't think it worked because I instructed the chief. Simple, lunch, 2 beers, and that's it. I hope his men listen to him. I really am stuck for words. I sat up there earlier, yesterday, trying to come up with something I can say, and I'm stuck. I'm truly humbled by what's been going on the past couple of weeks. When you decide to pull the plug, as they say, when you decide to put your papers in, things start looking a little different. Things start happening. But I never thought that I'd really come and see this day where I'd be here. And I'd like us to think for a minute. There's a lot of people that never had this opportunity, that never were able to see this type of a day. And those people I'm talking about are, that were here in Kearny, our line of duty vets that we have. Firefighter Hamilton, Captain Ball, and firefighter Janace. I think it's important that we remember those people who made us safer by, laying their lives down on the line, so that we can be better firefighters and have role models to look up to. So as we're sitting here celebrating, let's celebrate those guys too, and the other people in the fire service who did the same thing. We want to keep them in our hearts. I guess the theme here, the thing that what really resonates, is the respect. I heard a lot of kind words. I could never top the mayor's speech. Usually the mayor goes after me. But in this case, I have to speak after him and Eileen. I mean, those are heartfelt speeches. It's very tough to compete with. But what really is the important thing is the respect and the brotherhood that we have. As much as you want to say it, you're not here for me. You're here for the Kearny Fire Department. All these people came out of here, up here, for respect for the Kearny Fire Department. Over the past 13 years, and actually before that, because it started before me, our reputation was being built. Our foundation was being built. I was fortunate enough 13 years ago to be put in that seat to lead it and to drive that bus and to put some thoughts together. But what really happened are the guys in the back row over there, the guys that are just getting off these rigs that just went on that call. Because that's my support network. Those are the people that were behind me, did that plan, and made it happen. You talked about rising to the challenge. There's an example of it right there. You guys right now comprise one kick-butt fire department. And our reputation's out there. And in respect to my chiefs, when we talk about our mutual aid plans, and I'm going to lay my favorite line on them. When you want the fire to go out, just give us a call, we'll come here. And that's the attitude I have, because I've seen these people in action at a lot of fires. When you look at the downturn that we had, 30% of our department, 40% of our department had less than 2 years on a job. And that's what fought the chemical fire down all the leads, the new leadership. So it's the attitude, the molding of these people that, that made all that happen. It's a team effort. Not any one of us can do it. And going forward, I know the guy taking my place, we're going to see the same thing, if not better. I've always said, my ceiling is his floor. And I know that the department is going to move on and move forward. With the support of these guys, the mayor and council, the education that where I went in the fire committee had to sit with, we're able to develop a confined space. Technical rescue, build up our strength. These are all needs in the community. This is what our business needs. Our businesses in the town need is people to perform them rescues in addition to putting out their fires. So talk about the rebuild. We were down to 69 firefighters. That's everybody from me to 69. We all made a commitment. The mayor and council made the financial commitment to keep our ranks up. The members made the commitment to train and to work along with the people that were hired. And the people that were hired made the commitment to learn their job. And that was great. The support network in the county, we have a great group of county chiefs that, when we go to a county chiefs meeting, it's what do you need? What can we do? How are we going to work together? And that's that attitude. So it's the brotherhood, it's the respect that we were able to develop, not just for me, but the Kearny Fire Department, because we all did it together. We're all in it together. And this brotherhood, there ain't no speaking about it. To be on this side of that, of receiving that, there's a lot of people that are not in the fire service here to live that. You can't explain it, but you are living it right now. This is what it's all about. With that, there's some people that I have to thank. I'm going to start with my family, and that being the members of the Kearny Fire Department. Yes, we are family. I appreciate your support over the years. I promised I wasn't going to do this, but, and of course, Dad and Jaju, I'm glad you got the rain out of the way for us, but that's really where it started. My father, my grandfather, been to more fires in kindergarten, I think, than my first year on the job. But they started me on it. Of course, I have my mother, who's been behind me. Is there anything in it? Of course, my brother, my brother Joe, and my sister Chris, who is out of state, my sister Karen, my brother-in-law Eddie, Rich, Janine, all my nieces and nephews. I'm not going to get into names. I'm not going to forget anybody. I hope I didn't forget any of those people. I appreciate your support, because those are the people that were listening to the scanner with me all through my life, and, responding to the fires and doing whatever. I'd be remiss, I can't leave out my wife Donna, Allison, Melissa, Stephen, John. My nephews that are here, and my buddy, baby Jack, who's been hanging in my office with me for the past year. But that's my other family that, lived through the tough times, the good times, the bad times, and I can't thank them enough for being there. I have to give a special shout out to the office, my office staff, Mike and Rich and Juan and Dan and the bureau guys. What a tremendous, we talk about support and getting things done. When this pandemic started, you know, there was a big issue with people throwing their masks on the ground and not knowing how to react when people walked up with a mask. You know, what do you do in this? And I said, we got to do a video. Well, next thing you know, I go in the bureau, and there's Dan and Juan, but I thought it was a movie set. You know, they got their stuff, they got the pictures, and I think we got 2 hit videos out there on Facebook. So that's the kind of attitude and the respect and the teamwork that you have. And last, I can't thank enough is Mildred. What a find. What a find. And, you know, part of the, when we had the downturn, I lost my secretary. And so I was doing both jobs. Forget it. You talked about pulling your hair out. But then Mildred came along, and I remember when she got hired, you know, what do? I says, well, just start, and you know, we'll get you. You know, we'll help you along. She had files ripped apart. She figured out stuff on her own, like you can't believe. And no matter, you know, what I do, like I give her this chicken scratch, and she'll have a nice speech written out of it. So I can't thank her enough. She's been a great assistant, and you know, I'm sorry that I'm leaving. The only thing I look at is now that I'll be retired, I'll have some time. I just hope to get invited to her parties the first time, because the leftovers are excellent. So, you know, with that, you know, last thing on a hot day, you need somebody up here talking a lot. So I want to thank you, but looking around, I see what's going on. You know, the truth is, in the past 35 years, I never went to work. I never did, because this was never a job. This was a way of life, you know. And they always say, as long as you love your job, you never work a day in your life. So maybe I'm gonna have to look for that job I hate, so I can see what that's like. But it's been great because of people like you. And I guess I made my mark on a lot of people here, because there are a lot of people. You all came out, and you all came out to see me leave. With that, thank you. Stay safe. Can't appreciate it. I got to step back when he thought he was going to get away. This guy right here, 20 years ago, 21 years ago, I'm a captain down at Engine 1 on Davis Ave. And so we hired some new guys. And there were 3 assigned to Kearny Avenue house. So the chief said, we got to split them up, you know, we're going to give one to each guy. So you're going to have firefighter Miss Andrea. And I said, you're kidding me, chief. It took me probably a week, 2 weeks, probably a month, just to get his name right. But I seen that drive, and we were probably together for, I don't know, and I use this story a lot with the recruits. It was a couple of weeks, I think, and we get a call for a fire down at Columbia Terminals. I don't know if anybody, some of the new guys may not know the place, but there's a chemical plant out in South Kearny. They were pretty serious. And we're driving down Harrison Avenue. We get the reports, the first engine, you know, heavy smoke, you know, they had a fire. And I'm driving down Harrison Ave, and I just seen a column of smoke. And I turned to him, and I said, this is not good. Don't leave my side. And 21 years later, he's here, been here at my side. And the past 7 years, he's been up in the office with me, and he's been a big supporter of that. Another guy with that love for the fire service, and you know, true to make things happen. So I definitely would be remiss, and I am going to miss Deputy Chief Costanza and all the hard work that he's done to really help me make me look good, and really to help you know, move our mission and keep everybody safe. And he also put this event together. So, Chief, thank you.
Thank you, Chief, for those kind words, and you know, thank you for your support and your mentorship and your guidance, you know, over these last 21 years. So thank you for that. And I also remember it was a hot day just like this, where we were before Bergen Avenue continued, we were out blowing high, hand lines, sitting in the middle of the street. But thank you. Everybody, that comes to a conclusion. I just want to, I'm not sure, even though I had a list of papers, we had with this earlier, I'm not sure if I said, and I'd be remiss to forget, Deputy Chief Henry Richard from the Harrison Fire Department, and the Fire Director from Harrison, Harold Stahl. I'm not sure if I mentioned them earlier, I apologize. And if I missed somebody here, I apologize also. It's a very emotional day here for the fire department, and we're going to miss Chief Bill. So again, thank you. God bless everybody. Stay safe. That concludes our program. Feel free to take some refreshments with you as you go. Stay safe. Continue to wear your masks and social distance.